Hey everybody, recently I posted a video on my YouTube channel here at Dave Good Sax about how much music theory do you really need to know in order to craft a good saxophone solo. And you can go back and look at that if you'd like to, but after I recorded that, I was thinking about my own experience with learning how to play this music, right? How to play this instrument, how to play music with this instrument. That's even better. And I remember that I had studied with a man named Daniel Jackson. He played tenor saxophone, he played piano, and he retired here in San Diego. And he had been on the road with Ray Charles, and, among others. And the guy could just play just circles around anybody with his tenor sax. Beautiful tenor sax, so beautiful soul, beautiful guy. And I was lucky enough that he took me on as a student. And I remember I was just really beginning. I mean, I knew my scales, I knew my majors and my minors, and I knew that sort of thing. I was just beginning to, find my way around the bandstand as a soloist, right? And I went to him one day for a lesson, and the saxophones didn't come out of the case at this point, And I said that, he said, what do you want to work on today? I said, I'm not happy with my solos. They don't sound good to me. I kind of play the same things every time, and I'm boring myself, and I think I bore people I'm playing with. And he looked at me for a minute. Like that, right? He looks at me. And then he says, you need to go to church. And I looked back at him and I said, church? I need to go to church? He said, yeah, you need to go to church, right? And then he said, but not just any church. You need to go to a black church. And he said again, not just any black church, but you need to go to a black funeral. And now, in all fairness, Daniel Jackson was a very interesting man. And a lot of the times when you ask him a question, like for example, if you'd ask him what time it is, he'd tell you how to build a watch, right? He never really answered a question in a straight manner. He always answered in sort of riddles or parables that you had to figure out later. I remember asking him one time, can I come next Tuesday for a lesson? And he said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean? I mean, he said, I don't even know if I'll be alive next Tuesday. I mean, those were the kinds of answers you got. So, spot me a few points here if I'm wondering why he's telling me to go to black funerals. And he looked at me again for the longest time like I was perhaps the village idiot of saxophone players. And finally he said, you need to go to black funerals because everything happens at a black funeral. So that's what I did. I know, I went to some black funerals in some of the black churches in my neighborhood down closer to Southeast San Diego, and I wondered what it was that I was supposed to be listening to or for. Was it the choir? Was I supposed to be listening to the singers, the organist, the little pickup bands, or what? And in time, it came to me. What Daniel Jackson sent me out into his world to listen to at black funerals was the sound of life, right, and of creation on the fly. At most of the funerals I attended, the bereaved would have a time to get up after the opening, music, and each would get to tell stories about the decedent, right? And then there'd be prayers and there'd be more music and things like that. And finally, this would all culminate in the pastor, the preacher. He would take the podium, the stand, and he would get up and begin to preach. And almost in every case, the preacher started, down here, right? And he would weave in bits and pieces of all of the things that he heard throughout the morning or the day or whatever time it was. Everybody that said something about the decedent, he would weave that into his commentary or his sermon, if you will, and all the while ramping it up in energy until he's way up here. He starts out down here, and now he's up here, and he's got this thing going. And then he brings it back down again and puts smiles on everybody's face. Smiles, I suppose, some kind of, tears of joy, I suppose, at that point. These were masterworks, and I had never in my life experienced anything like that in the kinds of churches that I'd gone to, the kind of funerals that I'd gone to. And I'm so grateful that I got that advice to go to black funerals or black churches and just listen to what's going on there, right? And Daniel could have loaded me up with theory. Could have said, well, you need to go home and you need to learn your 2-5-1s, and you need to learn your altered dominants, and you need to learn your whole tone scales, and you need to learn your diminished scales and your half diminished. He could have said that. He could have said, yeah, you got to learn. No, he did not. He sent me out to listen to life, roots life, and I will never forget that experience of sitting with probably the greatest sax player in our city, maybe even on the West Coast, and getting that level of advice. So I'd pass that along to you. If you're not digging your own solos, maybe the thing to do is to back off from the theory. Maybe the thing to do is just to go out into life and just listen, absorb, listen to people's stories, listen to the rhythms of their stories, listen to how they tell their stories. Because isn't that what we do with our saxophones, right? Don't we tell stories? Isn't music a non-verbal kind of language? Well, I think it is. If you disagree or agree, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Questions? Sure. You can reach out to me either in comments below or direct email, always works, davegoodsax@gmail.com. Dave Good Sax is all one word, all lowercase, davegoodsax@gmail.com. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that love button. Hit that love button, because I love it when you hit the love button. I hope this lesson was helpful to you. Anyway, thanks for being here. Now go play your saxophone.